Oh, big turnout today. Something going on? No. Part of my job is to be an advocate for the president, and I'm going to vigorously defend his decisions and his policies and help him to advance his agenda. But I have another important responsibility as well. That is to make sure that the American people get an accurate account of what's going on here in Washington, D.C., and I work hard to meet both those responsibilities.
The information about Iraq seeking uranium allegedly in Africa in the State of the Union, why was the NSC hell-bent on having it in the State of the Union?
Well, I think the bottom line here is that this has been addressed. This one piece of information should never have been in the speech. Again, I think these issues have been addressed.
Doesn't the buck stop with the president? Isn't he responsible for the words that come out of his own mouth?
You bet the president is responsible for the decisions he makes to protect the American people. It was the right decision to confront what was a grave and growing threat in the form of Saddam Hussein and his regime. It was based on solid and compelling evidence, and I've addressed it based on what I know, what we knew when we knew it, and so forth. And so I mean, I think the White House officials have addressed this. Look, I think that this issue has been addressed. I'll see if there's anything else, but I really think it's been addressed. This issue has been addressed. I think these issues were addressed last week and this week. Let me keep moving. The president believes leaking classified information is a very serious matter, and it should be pursued to the fullest extent. I've made it very clear from the beginning that it is totally ridiculous. I've known Carl for a long time, and I didn't even need to go ask Carl because I know the kind of person that he is. And he is someone that is committed to the highest standards of conduct. And I have spoken with Karl Rove. I've made it very clear he was not involved, that there's no truth to the suggestion that he was. It was a ridiculous suggestion in the first place.
Scott, you have said that you personally went to Scooter Libby, Karl Rove, and Elliot Abrams to ask them if they were the leakers. Categorically, those three individuals were not the leakers or did not authorize the leaks. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. I've spoken with them. I remember very well what was previously said, and at some point I will be glad to talk about it, but not until after the investigation is complete.
I mean, this is ridiculous. The notion that you're going to stand before us after having commented with that level of detail and tell people watching this that somehow you decided not to talk. Do you stand by your remarks from that podium or not?
I will be glad to talk about it at the appropriate time. The appropriate time is when the investigation...
When it's appropriate, when it's inappropriate.
If you'll let me finish.
No, you're not finishing. You're not saying anything. You stood at that podium and said that Karl Rove was not involved.
There will be a time to talk about this, but now is not the time to talk about it.
Do you think people will accept that, what you're saying today?
Again, I've responded to the question. Go ahead, Terry.
You're in a bad spot here, Scott.
I've responded to the questions.
Scott, congratulations on your very calm and unflappable demeanor. I just wondered, are you happy in what you do? You look happy. Do you feel pressured? Have you ever considered
Most days.
Have you ever considered resigning, stepping back from the hot seat?
Look, I serve the pleasure of the president just like everybody else in this White House, and I'm just doing my part as one member of this team to help him advance an agenda that is optimistic and hopeful. Go ahead.
Feeling, for example, today?
I feel pretty good. What do you do with a threat in a post-September 11th world? Confront the threat.
Saddam Hussein did not threaten this country.
The world, the Congress, and the administration all disagree. They all recognize that there was a threat posed by Saddam Hussein. When it came to September 11th, that changed the equation. We must confront threats before it's too late. The president made the decision after September 11th to confront them before it was too late. Saw the attacks of September 11th, said, we are going to take the fight to the enemy. Take the fight to them, taking the fight to them abroad, take the fight to the enemy abroad so that we're not fighting them here at home. Staying on the offensive, spread freedom.
You're getting off point.
No, it's very much on point. Spread freedom and democracy, advance freedom and democracy, and you do that by spreading freedom. Freedom is a powerful force for defeated, and we will win against a deadly and dangerous enemy. Dangerous, and they are deadly, and they are sophisticated, lethal, and determined enemy that wants to strike America again, wants to strike us again. The terrorists are determined to strike us. Some people suggest that the president's just going off doing certain things. There's our Constitution, there's the laws, and we abide by them. We must continue victory. I'm not trying to relitigate the decisions that were already made. I don't think we need to go back and relitigate all this. We've already spelled out the reasons why we went in there, and it was Saddam's...
Everyone given has been turned out to be wrong.
It was Saddam Hussein's choice to make. It has been a breeding ground for terrorism, a breeding ground where people are flown planes into buildings.
Why do you keep linking Iraq and 9/11 and so forth? Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. 20 to 50 people are dying every day in Iraq.
The Iraqi people, we have heard from many of them who have expressed their appreciation.
The person who says that he found out about the convention center, seeing it on the media, that is to say the FEMA director, is still in place. Is that satisfactory that somebody would have responded like that?
Again, this is getting into where some want to engage in a blame game. We've got to, Terry, we've got to continue. Terry, we've got to
accountability.
Yes.
Is Brownie still doing a heck of a job?
Yes, we've got to continue to do everything we can. Again, David, I mean, see, this is where some people want to look at the blame game issue and finger point. We're focused on solving problems. I'm just not going to engage in the blame game or finger pointing that you're trying to get me to engage in.
Okay, but that's not at all what I was asking.
Sure it is.
Well,
It's exactly what you're trying to play.
The point you want to make about the blame game, which you've said enough now. I'm asking you a direct question, which you're dodging. Does the
No.
President retain complete confidence in his Director of FEMA and Secretary of Homeland Security? Yes.
And I just answered the question.
The answer yes
And
on
what
both?
you're doing is trying to engage in a game of finger pointing
There's a lot of criticism. I'm just
and
wondering
blame
if you feel
gaming.
as confident.
No, if you want to continue to engage in finger pointing and blame gaming, that's fine.
Scott, that's,
We're going to engage.
That's ridiculous.
We're
I'm
no,
not engaging
it's not
in that.
ridiculous.
Don't try to accuse me of that.
We
There's
appreciate-
pretty substantial criticism of members of his administration, okay? And you know that, and everybody watching
No,
knows that as well.
no, everybody that watches this knows, David, that you're trying to engage in a blame
I am
game.
trying to engage.
Yes,
I am trying to engage.
that's correct. We appreciate the efforts of Secretary Chertoff, Undersecretary Brown, and all the others at FEMA.
Do you think that the shooting accident involving the Vice President on Saturday should have been disclosed to the public on Saturday?
Well, I think that the first priority was making sure that Harry Whittington, Mr. Whittington, was getting the medical care that he needed. It's important always to work to make sure you get information out like this as quickly as possible.
The Vice President of the United States accidentally shoots a man.
You know, unfortunately, these type of hunting accidents happen from time to time.
Was the Vice President immediately clear that he had accidentally shot his friend? Oh no, I've shot somebody accidentally, and it takes 22
And you know what
hours
his first
for that?
reaction was? His first
I'm
reaction
sure
was
his
go to
first
Mr.
reaction-
Whittington
Absolutely.
and get his team in there to provide him medical care.
Why is it that it took so long for the President, for you, for anybody else to know that the Vice President accidentally shot
Well,
somebody?
early the next morning, Mrs. Armstrong reached out to the Corpus paper. That's her local paper, to provide them information.
That's ridiculous.
I'm here to announce that I will be resigning as White House Press Secretary. Mr. President, it has been an extraordinary honor and privilege to have served you for more than 7 years now. I have given it my all, sir, and I've given you my all.
I thought he handled his assignment with class, integrity. One of these days, he and I are going to be rocking in chairs in Texas, talking about the good old days of his time as the press secretary. And I can assure you, I will feel the same way then that I feel now, that I can say to Scott, job well done. Thank you, sir.
The Richard Clark book. Why shouldn't his account of the war on terror in this administration and past administrations be believed?
We appreciate the service that he provided, but
Why do you think
why?
he's doing
Well, I mean, you know, why all of a sudden, if he had all these grave concerns, did he not raise these sooner? This is 1.5 years after he left the administration, and now all of a sudden, he's raising these grave concerns that he claims he had. And I think you have to look at some of the facts. One, he is bringing this up in the heat of a presidential campaign. He has written a book, and he certainly wants to go out there and promote that book. Thank you. Goodbye.